All right, Ray. So the last time we spoke, you were a fifth grade teacher in Glendale, California. You were placed on leave after complaining at a school board meeting that your school, at least your former school, promotes transgenderism. And before we get to the really big stuff and talk about this lawsuit, could you give us kind of kind of take us back in time and tell us what happened initially that brought this whole thing about?
Well, it's good to see you and thank you for having me. Last year, what the school district began to do is aggressively promote transgender ideology. And a number of parents came to me concerned and wanted to get more information because the school district was gaslighting them. And for example, here's a good example of one of the things that they did. They began to place a set of donated books from a transgender nonprofit into each of the Glendale elementary school libraries. For example, here's one. This is a book titled They, She, He, and Me. And this is a book that is meant for kindergarten or first grade. And it really is just a list of pronouns associated with various pictures. So it's meant to teach kindergarten children that they can change their gender. And there were various other books to be placed at each grade level. And parents were not informed of this. And this was precisely at the time that they were removing these books from our school libraries. Very quietly, the California...
Oh, you got to watch those Dr. Seuss books are dangerous, you know.
So the district very quietly removed the Dr. Seuss books and placed the pro-transgender ideology books. And I didn't particularly have a problem with that. The real issue was not being transparent with parents because this is a public institution and should respond to the public. But in any case, parents came to me and asked me to do some research and approach the school board and ask some questions. So I went down to the school board and I thought I would have 5 minutes to discuss issues, and they only gave me 60 seconds. So I just quickly decided that what I would do is just list some biological facts. So I actually didn't argue against, I didn't make an argument against anything. I just said 2 + 2 is 4. There are 2 genders in human biology. Genders can't be changed. Heterosexuality is the norm. And then a few more other things that I thought.
Hold on a second here. You say heterosexuality is the norm. I've seen a lot of articles portraying you as some kind of evil white Christian nationalist. I don't think though that kind of fits. Could you tell us why? Perhaps that's not the case.
Well, 2 things. First, I am a gay American. I don't think that's particularly important to myself, but many other people believe that's important. And I'm, as an older gentleman, I'm very familiar with the early gay rights movement, which was just asking for privacy and equal rights. And that was solved and ended quite a long time ago. And homosexuality has nothing to do with transgenderism. There really is just, the alphabet people, the LGBTQ and so on. After the L and the G, everything else is basically just really disturbed people. It has nothing to do with being gay. It's just another leftist tactic to use subgroups to attack people. And heterosexuality is the norm. But
right. At this point, someone on the board muted your microphone. And then a board member informed you that your time was up. Applause broke out from the audience. And then this is just interesting. So a fellow teacher, Alicia Harris, filed a formal complaint against you in April, saying that you were showing off a swastika. And the reason that's important is because there was this big Media Matters article that I saw where it says swastika toting teacher went on Fox News. And the actual swastika that was on display here was an arrangement of 4 progress flags, pride progress flags, so that the canton of the Black Lives Matter and the transgender part of the progress flag makes a swastika. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that your point here was not to flatter Nazis and promote swastikas, but was to point out kind of the statist, fascist, authoritarian ideology that the progress and pride movement currently embodies.
Yes. What is very interesting about the left is I also had a book titled Maus, M-A-U-S, with me. And this is a anti-Nazi defense of the Hebrew people. And it has a swastika on the cover. So the fact that a book has a swastika or something that looks like a swastika does not mean that you are pro-Nazi. It can easily, and in my case, it did mean that I was anti-Nazi. So the materials that I had with me were to be used in the 5 minutes that I thought I had. However, the left will lie, cheat, and steal to try to destroy their opponents. So my point was that the transgender ideology shares particular beliefs with Nazism. For example, both of them have a false view of human biology. Both are authoritarian, and both seek to crush dissent. But of course, I wasn't allowed to explain that.
Right. So you were told at a certain point that, you're not allowed back on property. They're kind of blocking you and banning you from the building. And eventually you were let go. So the question I have is, from this point, where are you going? I saw an announcement regarding some kind of a lawsuit, so I thought I'd give you that opportunity to kind of break that here.
Well, thank you. Yes, my lawyer, an excellent young man, has filed a lawsuit on my behalf. And the lawsuit is actually about free speech, the principle of free speech, in which people who speak and are employed by government entities should be free from retaliation. So the school district, I spoke very simple, basic facts, and then was retaliated against immediately by the school district. And so this is really about defending the principle of free speech, not just for myself, actually, but for any parent, any teacher, any administrator, anybody who works for a government entity, speaks out in a public forum, and then is retaliated against.
What do you hope to receive out of this lawsuit? We're talking with Ray Shelton, a California teacher, 25-year veteran teacher, award-winning, who had the gall to speak out against transgender policies at his elementary school. What is it out of this lawsuit that you're really seeking to achieve? Because when it comes to employment-related lawsuits, there's a lot of different things that people ask for. Some just ask for their job back. Some ask for payment and damages. Some ask for a change in policy. What are you after here?
The principle that I hope to accomplish is a legal decision which protects the right of free speech, which I should say strengthens the principle of free speech. That's what I'm looking for, basically. That's the essence of what I'm after. Because once the principle is broken and people can be silenced through fear, then that's the end of our civilization, basically. So this is long term. This is a long-term project. This is a project that I hope will establish a legal precedent. There are some minor precedents in other places. What's different here is that generally you cannot bring a lawsuit against these sorts of entities unless you are an employee. And I was an employee. So most public teachers, public school teachers, or other government employees are not going to sue their employees for financial reasons. But I've lived long enough to see the slow descent of our culture and of civilization itself that we are at a true crisis point. We really are. We really are at a true crisis point. So that's my goal.
Ray Shelton, 25-year veteran, award-winning teacher of California, filing a lawsuit against Glendale Unified School District for a whole mess of shenanigans because, again, he had the gall to call out transgenderism at a school board meeting. Thank you very much for hopping on with us, sir.